Alright, so today we're going to be learning how to fertilize a Benjamin ficus or a Ficus Benjamina. Gonna go over just quickly the science kind of behind fertilization and why we do it. I do this in all my fertilization videos, so if you've seen it before, you're welcome to skip past this just to the part where I'm actually fertilizing this plant. So just some basic tips: only fertilize healthy plants. By fertilizing a plant that isn't healthy, it can stress it out and perhaps even kill it. Spring is generally the best time to fertilize. Just look for when your plant is in an active period of growth. This usually happens in spring because of extended light time or daytime hours, light time. So it'll start growing. So spring is a great time to be fertilizing. Third, plants in shade have a slower metabolism, so kind of like I was saying before, if it's getting a lot of sun, it's probably growing more and could not hurt from having more fertilizer. Whereas if it's in a shaded area, you probably don't want to be fertilizing it too much. And lastly, less is always more with fertilizing. If you're worried about hurting your plant, just go on the more conservative side, just as a safety to avoid harming or stressing out your plant. Alright, so for my Benjamin ficus, I'm using Schultz plant food. I'm pointing to these three numbers right here because they are found on all fertilization canisters or bags. They are the percentages of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in that order, and it's percentage of active ingredients within your fertilizer. So just to review what each of those ingredients are doing for your plant, the nitrogen is a major component of chlorophyll. It greens up your plant. So if your plant greens up from fertilizing, it is due to the nitrogen in your fertilizer. Secondly is phosphorus, which helps the roots, buds, and flowers, helps with the cell division and tissue production. If you're fertilizing a plant that is capable of flowering, phosphorus is particularly helpful in that. And lastly is potassium, which helps the overall vigor of the plant by catalyzing the enzymes, and it also regulates the stomatas in the plant, which are like the little breathing holes on a plant's leaves. Alright, so here I'm just washing the bucket that I'll be using with my fertilizer water. I'm doing this to avoid any sort of contamination that could happen because we do not want that. So I'm adding quite a bit of water here just because I have multiple plants that I'm fertilizing. Just be sure that you reference your container of fertilizer for how much water you should be adding to it so you don't over-fertilize or under-fertilize your plant. The next step is to actually add the fertilizer. Like I said, reference the box so you know how much you should be adding. This one is a liquid dropper, so it just goes right in, but I do stir it afterwards, and you should do so with a powder, a liquid, or any other type of fertilizer that you choose. And now you're ready to pour your fertilizing water onto your houseplant. Just make sure that you get enough to completely soak the soil so that it reaches all of the roots. Wow, that's a great camera angle I have going on there. But a good indicator that you have completely soaked the soil is water coming out the bottom, like I will show in just a second. And there it is, there's the water coming out the bottom, so I know I've gotten all the roots. Feel free to just dump out that water in the sink to avoid, just letting your roots kind of sit in water. And I recommend fertilizing a Benjamin ficus monthly, spring through summer, with a 10-10-10 fertilizer. I know my Schultz one was a 10-15-10, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. Just kind of stick around that range and you will be good to go. Your Benjamin ficus will thank you and show you its thanks with its new growth.